Welcome back to Go for Two Sports, the best NFL show on YouTube. I am your host, Aaron Shedd. We had yet another crazy week in the NFL. Whole bunch of teams we expected to win losing, whole bunch of teams we expected to lose winning. Let's get in. We're going to review them all game by game, team by team. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are not subscribed, go ahead and drop a subscribe, leave a like, comment, tell me what you thought about this week in the NFL down below, and let's get into it. Starting us off here today, you have the Jaguars and the Bears playing in London. The Bears come out and just take this one from the very beginning as they're going to win 35-16. Caleb Williams has an excellent game. Again, just looking better week after week. The Bears really got a stud with him at the number 1 overall pick. For the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence is struggling, and their receivers can't find ways to get open. They had 4 drops this week that all 4 could have led to potential touchdowns. Gabe Davis had 2 touchdowns himself, but 2 drops as well that could have added 2 more touchdowns for him in this game. The Jaguars have struggled to find any consistency so far on offense this season, and that continues again today. It makes you start to wonder if the head coach, Doug Peterson, is maybe on the hot seat there, as the Jaguars have come in this season and so far and have looked utterly disappointing with Trevor Lawrence at the helm. The biggest hole for the Jaguars is they could not get pressure. They didn't amount a single pressure until they were already down 35-10. They blitzed him 6 times and got nothing. The defense just has to find a way to build off of all the talent that they have. Josh Hines-Allen, they have on the opposite side of the edge. They have Trayvon Walker, who is obviously a number 1 pick. Hasn't looked worth the pick so far. We thought maybe last week was going to be his breakout game, as he had a great game last week. But this week he started out strong and just couldn't snowball that into anything. And, the defense allowed Caleb Williams to sit in the pocket and pick them apart all game. That's traditionally not his game. His game is he's a guy who's going to, when the play break down, he's going to turn nothing into something, and he's going to make the play happen outside of structure. But today he was able to stay in the pocket and pick this Jaguars defense apart, which had no answers for them. Against the blitz in the first half, Caleb Williams had 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Jaguars quickly felt in this game that blitzing wasn't going to work against Caleb Williams and this Bears offense. For the Bears, they dominated this game. They come out and Caleb Williams looks like who we thought Caleb Williams was going to be. This receiving core showed up. They're obviously what we thought they were going to be as well. And so far, the Bears are 4-2. And as you take a look in that division, every team is at least 4-2. And that's the first time since division realignment in 2001 that every team in the division has been 4 wins, has had at least 4 wins through 6 games in the season so far. That's a tough division. It's going to come down to late game seeding and late game tiebreakers to determine who's going to get into the playoffs and who isn't over there in the NFC North. Moving on here, we have the Packers and the Cardinals. Green Bay going to take this one 34-13 behind another strong performance from Jordan Love. In his 3rd game back from knee injury, Jordan Love so far has looked just like he did at the end of last season. He threw for 258 yards and 4 touchdowns on 32 attempts. Only 10 incompletions there. He did have 1 interception, but it was because their young receiver Bo Milton did slip on a route, unfortunately. But he was able to continue that game and go crazy. The first time in his career he had multiple such touchdowns of 15-plus yards or more downfield. Jordan Love is really coming into his own and showing Packer fans why that their system of drafting and stashing a quarterback, while they have a currently great quarterback, has worked for so many years and have shown why it's going to continue to work well after Aaron Rodgers is retired with Jordan Love. Romeo Doubs, he was suspended last week for off the field disciplinary issues. Some rumors were suggesting that he was complaining about playing time, but this week there was no way that he could complain because he comes away with 2 scores. 2 touchdowns for Romeo Doubs in his comeback game as he just looked incredible. One of those plays towards the end of the game actually ended up being the game winner. Jordan Love just off his back foot, just kind of just throwing up a prayer, and Romeo Doubs just kind of just looking like he's catching a punt, just waiting for it to come down, catches the punt, makes a move, and is able to get into the end zone there for his second score of the day. The Packers take on the Texans next week as they rolled Arizona 34-13. But for Arizona, coming into this game, they had optimism. They looked like they were starting to get their offense back on track, but the offense stuttered today. And what's wrong with the offense? Well, there's a lot wrong with the offense, and it's a combination of a number of things. The passing game is sloppy. The passing game doesn't seem to be moving with much structure, and it feels like sometimes Kyler Murray is told to just go out there and just make things happen. He doesn't have much help besides Marvin Harrison Jr. at the receiver position, and they gave the ball away like 3 or 4 times in just very late game crucial situations against this Packers defense, but 2 times while in the red zone. The Cardinals just need to do a better job of taking what they can get and stop looking for the huge play every game, especially early in the game, because it's just going to lead to you being down big like you were in this one. And the Cardinals take on the Chargers next week. That's a game that they can win, but they haven't looked disciplined. They've had a bunch of penalties, and the offensive has been stuttering. The defense so far has looked better than expected, but still not a great group over there. Just need to get some more talent into the building. Overall, so far for the Cardinals, just not going to plan. But that division hasn't looked great so far in the NFC West, as they got a surprise win over the 49ers earlier in the season. If they can turn this around, maybe they can end up making a push for the playoffs as they take on the Chargers next week and Monday Night Football. And we are moving on. The Eagles and the Browns. This game was a snooze fest, let me tell you. The Eagles have again looked disappointing. Even though they get the win, they're coming off a bye week. They have superstar receivers A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith back from injury, but they still didn't look like themselves. They didn't look like this team that went to the Super Bowl just a few years ago. Special teams wasn't very good either, as they had another blunder. They had a bad field goal attempt blocked that was returned for a touchdown. And just more struggles on the third side of the ball for the Eagles, looking to get that fixed as they take on the Giants next week, who usually struggle in the same department as well. The defense for the Eagles, though, looked very good, but, they are playing the Browns' offense. The Browns' offense has looked absolutely anemic. They have no life whatsoever. They're just bad, and Deshaun Watson is horrible. On the defensive side of the ball, though, rookie cornerback Cooper DeJean, just had an aneurysm there trying to say his name. He made a big impact. He got his first start of the career in the slot, and he had 6 tackles, had a quarterback hit, half sack, and a couple of quarterback pressures. And while he was in coverage, just allowed 1 catch on him for 14 yards. Good decision by the defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, there, starting Cooper DeJean in the slot. The Eagles take on the Giants next week. Saquon's return to MetLife, and we're gonna see what Saquon can do. He's probably gonna go crazy. Let's be honest. Just some bad blood between those two teams, especially Saquon and his former home. Moving on, we have the Browns. The Browns looked like the Browns yet again. They found somewhat of an identity in the run game, even after losing starting running back Jerome Ford in the second possession of the game. They ran for over 100 yards for only the third time this season and averaged 4 yards per carry. Now, let's be honest. Those numbers aren't crazy. Those numbers aren't going to win you football games. But Nick Chubb's coming back soon. The Browns can build off of that and hopefully relieve some pressure off of the offensive line and Deshaun Watson so that they can play to the best of their abilities, because so far this season they certainly have not. At a certain point throughout this game, late in this game, the Browns had not completed 26 consecutive third down attempts dating back to last week. They ended up completing 2 in a row late in the second half, and just was able to get some type of momentum late into the game. But they would stall out in the red zone. Back-to-back false start penalties would make them settle for a field goal, and they wouldn't see the ball again. The Eagles just run out the clock and win the game. And the Browns just not much hope in a tough division over there as they take on the Bengals next Sunday, coming off their win against the Giants. Moving on, the Ravens and the Commanders. The Ravens going to take this one 30-23 in a battle of the two best offenses in the NFL. Coming into the game, Washington had the best offense in the NFL, but Baltimore proved that they were underrated and took this one 30-23. Lamar Jackson is putting together what seems to be just another MVP-like season. He threw for 300 yards again in this one, which is back-to-back games he's done that, which is only the second time in his career he has ever done that. Zay Flowers had a huge game, had the most receiving yards he's ever had in a game, and he surmounts that in the first half with 132 first-half receiving yards. He would go on to lead the team in receiving yards for the game. Running back Derrick Henry became the second player in NFL history to rush for over 600 yards and 8+ touchdowns in his first games with a new team. He's obviously the best running back in the league right now. He's destroying my entire fantasy league at this point, to be honest. But he's just a beast, showing no signs of regression at 31. And the Titans are certainly wishing that they held on to King Henry. Mark Andrews found his way back into the end zone for the first time in almost an entire year. His last touchdown came October 29th, 2023. Huge confidence boost for the former Pro Bowl tight end and a big weapon for Lamar Jackson, looking to get back on track this season, as he looked like this was the worst start to his career since entering the league for Mark Andrews. The defense held the Commanders to only 23 points. Washington came in averaging 30.1 a game, and the defense did their job and held Washington multiple times. As for the Commanders definitely shown their weak spots this game, and that being their defense, specifically their pass defense. They have the worst defense in the league entering this game, and they continue to show why they have the worst defense in the league. They averaged 5.7 yards per play given up to their opponents entering this game, and Baltimore averaged 7.6 yards a play. So obviously Washington wasn't able to get a good game plan ready for this game. Lamar Jackson had 323 yards through the air and 484 overall if you add in the rushing yards. Commanders got to get something figured out on that side of the ball. Obviously a lack of talent. They have a lack of getting pressure on the quarterback. even when they do get pressure, the pass coverage lets up. So all around, just I don't want to say a talentless group, but they definitely are not able to contend with the other defenses in the league, or against even some of the worst offenses in the league as well. The Commanders take on Carolina next week, so look for Jaden Daniels to have an absolute field day. He's gonna have whatever he wants against my poor Panthers team, as we're probably gonna lose again against the Commanders. Moving on, the Texans and the Patriots. The Texans obviously a Super Bowl favorite coming into this game, and the Patriots are obviously a first overall pick candidate coming into this game. That showed today as the Texans beat the Patriots 41-21 in a absolute mismatch. Texans defense looked insane. Will Anderson Jr. was all over the field. He had 3 sacks, 3 pressures, and a pass deflection that turned into an interception. Third overall pick from the 2023 draft. Has come into this season looking strong so far. Joe Mixon's come back from injury, and he had a great game. 55 rushing yards over expectation, which is the most by a Texans running back this season. He looked good, and the Texans were able to just run all over the Patriots. But the real story is with them Patriots, them New England boys, as for some reason they decided to start Drake May after Jacoby Brissett has had a tough start to the season. But at this point, it's like, you don't have much talent. The offensive line is banged up. They had 3 starters for this game were out. So you have 3 guys that were replaced with 3 guys that probably neither of the 3 of them had 100 snaps played in their NFL career so far. And that's honestly just a horrible position to throw a rookie quarterback into. But he still looked good. He had a nice 40-yard passing touchdown to Kayshon Boutte late in the second quarter. That was a good 2-minute drill ran by the rookie and this young offense there. He also had a good find for the tight end Hunter Henry later in the game for a 30-yard catch and run. That was also impressive. But just the few bright spots in his game was kind of negated by the several mistakes that he made. He overthrew the guy about like 10 yards on his one bad interception. The other interception obviously come off the tip at the line of scrimmage from Will Anderson. Just a great play by him there. Not much you can do for Drake May. And then he had a strip sack where he was sacked and he dropped the ball, and the tackle just never had a chance out there. It was a one-on-one situation, and the dude just blew right by him and just hit Drake May in his blind spot, and he dropped the ball. Patriots moving on. They play the Jaguars next Sunday in London. That's the Jags' second straight London game. More of a chance there, but if I was the Patriots, I would sit Drake May for the rest of the season and let him come hopefully into next season with a better roster around him, instead of just ruining like he got hit 4 or 5 times pretty bad in this game. And so you just have to question, is it worth it? Let's get Drake May and the number 1 overall pick, and let's build this offense up. Let's build a team up. Let's not just throw the one bright spot of our future that we have away. Kayshon Boutte had that nice play, and he definitely was a prospect coming out of LSU with a lot of potential, but that never really came to fruition in college or so far in his NFL career. I think this is his first touchdown in his first real playing time anywhere he's been. I know he had a short stint in Philly as well, if I'm not mistaken. Just a couple great shining spots in the Patriots wide receiver core that ultimately doesn't have much aspiration or talent there. Patriots take on the Jags next week in London, as we are moving on to hopefully a much better game, because this game was boring. And we do have a better game as we have the Bucks and the Saints. The Bucks coming off a loss to the Falcons. They had finishing the word finishing be a key point of emphasis after last week's loss to Atlanta. The Bucks come into this game and they had returning defenders Antoine Winfield, Kalisha Cansey, Luke Godecki. They were able to get healthy on the defensive side of the ball, and that came up huge as they were able to get a defensive touchdown off a scoop and score by Antoine Winfield. And they just had picked off Spencer Rattler twice. They did what they came into this game looking to do, knowing that Spencer Rattler was starting. But Baker Mayfield on the offensive side of the ball looked not like he has so far to start this year. So far this year, he's looked pretty good, and he's looking like a franchise guy for the Bucks. But he had 2 interceptions in the second quarter. He finished with 3 interceptions overall, and Baker Mayfield I think he came into this game having 2 interceptions. And he was picked off all 3 times were in the second quarter. Wild. Insane. 3 interceptions in a quarter. He did calm down, though, and threw 2 touchdowns in the second half and ultimately helped the team pitch a shutout and take this one 51-27. But the defense has got to do something different because they showed not very good poise as they went up and then ultimately let the Saints score 27 points in the second quarter. Good thing they were able to go away to halftime and come up with a new game plan and figure something out against Spencer Rattler, which they should have blitzed him more. I'm honestly surprised. They didn't blitz him as much as I thought they were going to, when you think they would, because there's a rookie starting under center. But no, they didn't blitz him as much as they did. They did in the second half get 4 sacks. I guess they figured that out at halftime and found a way to shut down Spencer Rattler. As for the Saints, they obviously started Spencer Rattler, and it was a tale of 2 halves for him. Obviously, in the first half, you had Chris Olave. He took a hit to the head that caused him to fumble. He probably just blacked out as soon as he was hit, just knocked out. And he would miss the rest of the game with a concussion. Hope he's doing okay. But Spencer Rattler, in the first half, he was 11 of 17 for 140 yards and a touchdown in the first half. The second half, he was 11 for 23 for 103 yards, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. Obviously, at halftime, the Bucs defense figured out Spencer Rattler's game plan and was able to get in his head. And that ultimately caused them to lose this game and not score any points in the second half. The Saints did score 27 points in the second quarter, though, which was the most by any team in a quarter this season. After a punt return for a touchdown, back-to-back interceptions that set up a field goal, then a touchdown from Rattler, and 3 takeaways in that quarter alone, but they still lost badly. They gave up the most amount of points that they had given up in a game since 2012. The Saints defense was boom or bust all game. They were either tackling and making big plays on Spencer Rattler and intercepting him, or they were just allowing the big plays and allowing the Saints offense to basically get whatever they wanted. But they did come up big with that touchdown, obviously, and they were able to win the game, or lose the game. Sorry, I was thinking of the Bucs defense. The Bucs defense had the touchdown, and the Bucs defense obviously won. But the Saints defense, they looked good for the most part, and at the end of the game, just let them down. Or the offense really let them down, not scoring after halftime. But they had plenty of stops, but the offense just couldn't do anything with it. and that led to the Saints losing in a honestly, it was after halftime. This game was clear that it was over, so it got pretty boring, not gonna lie. But moving on, we got hopefully a better game coming up next. And probably another disappointing game, we have the Colts and the Titans. The Colts beat the Titans 20-17. The Colts, things are really starting to look up for Indianapolis as they've been banged up for the past couple of weeks. Going 2-1 over the past 3, though, is a good sign of what's to come. Michael Pittman Jr. wasn't supposed to play this week due to a back injury that could have even left him on IR for the next up to 4 weeks. Michael Pittman instead decided to tough it out and play through, and he even had a couple of huge plays where you had to know that back was bothering him, but he loves the game so much and he loves this team so much that he just put it on his back and just made the necessary plays. One of them being in the end zone, and then one of them to convert on a first down late in the game that sealed the deal. Both plays were very physical, so that had to take a toll on his injured back. And shout out to my boy Juan. Seen a report that Michael Pittman wasn't going to play, and I told him not to start him in fantasy. And he played and obviously had the touchdown, and Juan had left him on his bench. So, sorry, homie. That one's on me. Didn't realize Michael Pittman was going to play. But back to real football. Joe Flacco, 39-year-old Joe Flacco. He had his 8th consecutive regular season game with at least 2 touchdown passes. And that's tied with Jordan Love for the longest active streak. Flacco's numbers weren't even really that good on Sunday, but he did throw for 2 touchdowns, 23 of 38 and 189 yards. So not his best game, but he did just enough for the Colts to get the win. Anthony Richardson probably going to come back next week. And as this team is starting to get healthy, it could look dangerous in a weak AFC South division. Moving on for the Titans. The Titans, it was not pretty, and it definitely wasn't pretty on the scoreboard as they were on the wrong side of the result yet again. The offensive attack consisted of a lot of short to mid-range passage for Will Levis and a bunch of runs for Tony Pollard. Had him on my fantasy team, so that did me good, but the Titans, it just wasn't enough. He had a big 33-yard touchdown that looked like it was going to breathe some life into this offense, but Will Levis just continues to literally be a meme on the field as he only throws for 95 yards. Since 2020, the Titans have had 5 games where their starting quarterback has thrown for less than 100 yards, and Will Levis has 3 of them. So hard to imagine a scenario where the Titans continue to get this play out of Will Levis and continue to look at him as their long-term option. Maybe it's time to bring in Mason Rudolph. Not that Mason Rudolph is a long-term option or franchise guy, but at least he could give you something because Will Levis isn't showing anything right now. He isn't even looking like he's capable of playing the position. They actually had a really good chance in this game to get back on track offensively as the Colts were allowing an NFL worst 419 yards per game before Sunday. But obviously the Titans weren't able to do anything with that. So they lose yet again. They need to get better, and they need to figure something out as they take on the Lions and the Bills the next 2 games, and it's just not looking good for the Titans. Moving on, we have the Chargers and the Broncos. The Chargers take this one 23-16 after a strong performance from Justin Herbert. He had his most yards through a game so far this season with 237, which is also the most he's had in a game since week 11 of last season. So offensive coordinator Greg Roman said that you would see a lot more of Justin Herbert in the passing offense, and that was definitely the case so far after this game. Um, Justin Herbert obviously is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He has a huge arm and can thread the needle anywhere you want it in the field. Obviously is questionable the talent and the weapons around him, but he was able to make that work. But the big emphasis in this game was the defense, as they held the Broncos scoreless through the first 3 quarters, and they had 2 turnovers, an interception by Elijah Moulton, which is his second of the season, and a peanut punch by Khalil Mack that caused Javonte Williams to fumble as well. Defense was strong, as is the focus of the Chargers organization. The head coach, Jim Harbaugh, actually went into the tent as he was sick, but turns out he's all right, and was able to come out of the tent and go to the locker room and get some help. He returned later in the game as the Chargers beat the Broncos. Let's look at it from the Broncos' point of view. Their offense has been struggling, and it all starts up front. They can't get the offensive line. They just can't get any protection, and they can't get a push on the in the run game. And the Broncos, their rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, was intercepted on his first pass attempt, and they just continue to show no commitment to the run game. So when you just have nothing, neither aspects of the offense clicking, it's hard to get anything going. On the defensive side of the ball, their superstar do-it-everything cornerback Pat Surtain left the game because of a concussion, and moving forward, this does not look good for the Broncos, as they have already struggled with injuries, and their usually good defense obviously is going to take a hit with that one. The biggest hole in the game plan for the Broncos was definitely their third down defense. The Chargers were able to eat a bunch of clock on a long 20-play drive that took 10.5 minutes off the clock and ended in a field goal. The Broncos defense is usually pretty good and was able to, force the offense to third down, but struggle to maintain the pressure on third down, and gave up a lot of conversions for the offense, which led to a long drive such as that. And this problem isn't a new problem. They had this happen last week, a couple long drives last week, and they just got to get that in check. And this defense can be a lot better, but Bo Nix needs to be better. No offensive line, though, and no run game is struggling for him. Makes me wonder if the Broncos will sit him down for the remainder of the season, as they has Zach Wilson behind him that can play, and a couple other guys in that room that can really play. No need to further hinder your future with an injured team and a talentless team. They take on the Saints Thursday, and a short week, but that should give them an extra long week after that to recover and be ready to play. As we are moving on, we have the Steelers taking on the Raiders. The Steelers win this one 32-13 in an absolute defensive showing for the ages. The defense comes out and forces multiple turnovers and makes it look like the Raiders should probably go back to Gardner Minshew, as Aiden it just hasn't shown anything better than Gardner Minshew has so far this year. But for the Steelers, Justin Fields, another, I don't want to say a bad showing, as they get the dominant win, and he gets 2 touchdowns on the ground, his 5th and 6th of the year, but he was inconsistent and inaccurate, and 14 for 24 for 145 yards, to go with 11 carries and 59 yards on the ground. The 2 scores, definitely helped, but without a dominant defense, you have to wonder, does Justin Fields' play look this bad? Russell Wilson obviously is able to start next week, will they pull the plug and let Russell Wilson play above Justin Fields, or will they roll with Justin Fields, as he could be the future for this team? Although I don't think so. I'm not gonna lie, he just doesn't look like he has um, much capability. He holds on the ball for way too long. Yeah, he just poor decision making at sometimes. He would have had a bad interception if it wasn't for a defensive roughing the passer in this one. But for the Raiders, Aiden O'Connell just didn't look anything better than Gardner Minshew has so far this year. I mean, they didn't have Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, so that's kind of kind of expected. And they had a rookie running back, Dylan Laub, fumble on his first career attempt, thanks to a peanut punch by T.J. Watt. He was just able to absolutely just destroy them, and he had multiple forced fumbles, multiple tackles for loss. He was just that guy against the Raiders' offensive line, and I don't know. I just feel like the Raiders don't know where to go from here, as neither guy has worked out so far. The defense also didn't look like they could get much, as Justin Fields wasn't sacked at all, I don't think, and the defense just needs to turn it up as they take on the Rams next week. Moving on, we have the Lions and the Cowboys. The Lions would win this one 47-9, as they had an overall dominant performance, but the real story comes out of an injury to Aiden Hutchinson early in the game. Just an overall superstar, the heart and soul of this team. Broken tibia come out today, and he was immediately put into surgery to help fix that. He's going to be out for a while. It isn't said how long, but you can imagine this is it's done for his season, and hopefully he's able to come back healthy next season. This is one of those injuries that could end careers. So players are lucky. He's definitely lucky that it wasn't worse. And you can just see as he went down in that video, it's gruesome. You can see his leg break, and you can see him go down, and he instantly knows it. And you can see him mouth out the words, "I broke it." So just a heartbreaking loss for the Lions, but they ultimately rally around their love for their teammate and absolutely destroy the Cowboys. Hell yeah, 47-9. And the Cowboys just had no answer for anything the Lions could do, and the Cowboys couldn't get anything going on offense, as the Lions defense, even after Hutchinson went down, just was relentless all game. And Dak just he couldn't find anything against the stifling Lions defense. For the Cowboys, they are dropping now to 3-3 on this season. All 3 wins coming away. All 3 losses coming at home. After going on a 16-game home win streak, they are now 0-3 to start this season. So that has very much stumped their play so far. Dak has been he doesn't look like the same guy at home, which is strange. Usually superstar quarterbacks come alive at home, but Dak Prescott just doesn't. He struggled all game, even with the injuries to both tackles. That obviously restrained the run game. And Rico Dowdle didn't have a good day. Ezekiel Elliott didn't have a good day. The Cowboys weren't able to get much of anything going on offense, as they would only put up 9 points and lose this game 47-9. But they look ahead as they play the 49ers after they come out their bye. So they're going to use this bye to try to get healthy and take on one of the better teams in the NFC. Moving on, the Panthers, my sweet beloved Panthers, versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, They win 38-20, as this is the first time all season they were actually able to put away a team. The first time all season that they didn't trail at any point in the fourth quarter. It looked like for a second they were going to let the Carolina Panthers come back, but an interception by their star corner AJ Terrell put the Panthers away with 10 minutes left in the game. No, it's like 11 minutes. It's like 10:53 left in the game, I think. Yeah. And that ended the drive basically for the Panthers, and that ended all of our hopes at coming back, as they were able to take a 2-score lead. The Falcons hadn't been able to get it going on the ground so far this year, averaging just 96.8 yards per game, but against the Panthers they exploded for 198 yards, led by Tyler Algiers 105 yards and a score, and Bijan had 95 and 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. Great for my fantasy team, but not great for my favorite football team, the Panthers. It's just heartbreaking stuff to just watch, and it's like, yay, Bijan scoring 20 points for me in fantasy. Nice. But he's also destroying my team in real life, as we now fall to 1-5. The Panthers do have a couple of bright spots. Chuba Hubbard has 315 yards over the last 3 games and also had 92 yards this game. Just a great stretch of games so far for the Canadian. And the Panthers have Jonathan Brooks, second-round running back from the draft that they picked. Obviously, the first running back off the board. They have him coming back. His 21-day window opened up, so that's another bright spot for the Panthers. They could look to trade Chuba. I hope they don't, but there has been trade talks, as they also have Miles Sanders under contract for the next 2 years, but he's virtually stuck there. There's no way that the Panthers financially are going to be able to move on from him. The Panthers did really good through most of the game, but the late game interception by Andy Dalton, he wanted it too much. You could see he was really enjoying this game. He was enjoying himself, and he was slinging it around. Had a couple big plays. Xavier Legette found the end zone and did his signature ride the dollar bill, or his horse, obviously. Just great to see some chemistry brewing in Carolina for my favorite team, even though we dropped this game. It was closer than the final score would tell. We would lose by 18, but it was a close game until that late game interception by AJ Terrell. And we're moving on to the last game of the week. Well, I said last game of the week. I meant last game of the night, because thank God we still have Monday Night Football to look forward to, because after a good slate of games on Sunday, it ended it all off with a very anticlimactic Cincinnati Bengals versus the New York Giants. This game was an absolute snoo fest. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. Neither team could get much going, and the Bengals, obviously a much better team, but the record doesn't reflect that. They were able to ultimately just do more on the ground, and they were able to win the game. I think the Giants played a similar game to the Bengals, but the Bengals just executed more when it mattered most. Daniel Jones, again, he goes 0 touchdowns at home, and he has not thrown a touchdown at home since the end of the 2022 season. Bad play from the Giants, as they only put up 7 points against this pretty bad Bengals defense, and the Bengals offense should be disappointed after not doing more against a bad Giants defense. I mean, the Giants defense isn't horrible. The pass rush definitely come alive. Brian Burns had a good game. Kayvon Thibodeau and big Dexter Lawrence in the middle there. Obviously going to did play a threat in this one to Joe Burrow. but it ultimately didn't matter because the offense wasn't able to do anything with it, as the Bengals win 17-7 in probably the worst game of Sunday, because in fact no one was waiting all day for that Sunday night, because that game was bad. Moving on, we have Monday Night Football. The Jets and the Bills play. I will be back to give me my review and analysis on that tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching and supporting me on this journey. If you're not already subscribed, 99% of you aren't already subscribed, so go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Follow me on TikTok, Go for Two Sports over there as well. Comment down below what you think and let me know what your prediction is for Monday Night Football tonight. I will see you guys. I'm done. I'm getting out of here. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day.